Now, heel turns are awesome. They change up the status quo, give a fresh coat of paint to a superstar, and for the most part, the heel turn itself lands. But then we move into the actual heel run. The heel run of the same said superstar. And that's where I started getting a bit nervous. Because as we know, the heel run doesn't necessarily always land, even though the heel turn landed in the first place. Case in point here is Randy Orton's heel turn, which we had last week, which pretty much ticked all the boxes, but we were left with many, many questions. What is the agenda? What is the motive? What is the reasoning why the superstar, this late in his career when he's beloved by everybody, turned heel? Yes, his resume shows he's pretty much healed for most of his career. He's done some of his best work, arguably his best work ever as a heel over a babyface. And it dawned on me, the longer I've been watching wrestling, the heel run itself can't fall flat. It has to have substance, depth, and most importantly, layers. I'm tired of the traditional, oh, I'm flipping the bird now, I'm turning my back on the crowd. I was going with the cheers and all the reactions and it got me nowhere, and now I hate you guys, and going into each arena and literally violating their football team or their sports team or whatever the case is. I've seen that. I've seen that enough. Dare I say, even John Cena, to a certain extent, his heel run was focused on just turning on the crowd and having that relationship with the crowd, which was kind of cool, but it didn't make too much sense that late in his career because he was getting cheered. Anyway, very similar to Randy Orton. Randy Orton's been getting cheered. I mean, his theme song has been getting sung over the last sort of 3-4 years, and it's never been the case before. And he's had this theme song since 2008. So we could not just use the same copy and paste formula we had with John Cena as we did with Randy Orton. So when Randy Orton opened this week's SmackDown edition, went into his promo, I was at the edge of my seat. Are we going to get substance? Are we going to get layers? We know he spoke to someone on Monday Night Raw. That's definitely adding some depth there. Who's that going to be? And as soon as Randy Orton opened up the promo, he actually touched on the crowd, saying my song's being sung for the last couple of years, and it's put a smile on my face the way you guys have been cheering me, and I felt empty inside. Just for a second, I got slightly nervous, thinking, oh, it's going to be one of those typical heel runs where he's like, oh, the crowd did nothing for me. Screw you guys. I'm just going to become a bad guy. But I was wrong. As Randy continued his promo, we started to see this as a much more nuanced heel run, a more sophisticated heel run, where Randy's still acknowledging his personality from 2 weeks ago, where he was high-fiving crowds, signing autographs, smiling with kids. He's not just all of a sudden within 7 days just, oh, I'm gonna ignore all of that, screw these people. He's actually floating in between. His personality, of course, he's a bona fide heel, but his personality is torn between two, and it works very well for someone of the likes of Randy Orton, who's always been tormented by the voices in his head. Concluding as the main reason as to why Randy Orton had to turn heel is because he had to kick into those animalistic instincts, as we've all realized, for him to capture 15th title gold, which I like, which makes a lot of sense. And I would have been really concerned if Orton just did a complete 180 and he became this definitive, decisive heel where he just hates everyone all of a sudden. But there's still some residue of babyface Randy Orton in there. And that to me is so, so important. We use the word cinema openly in modern day wrestling, and a lot of this has to do with the bloodline saga we've had for about 4 or 5 years as of late. And that indeed was cinema. But what was in there? Substance, depth, alluding to the past, acknowledging the past, not just pulling out the Men in Black device and all of a sudden saying the past doesn't matter, this is new me, screw everyone. That can just be insulting to all of our intelligence. WWE's pulled back the curtain, for the most part, not completely of course, with the Unreal episodes and everything in terms of mainstream media, ESPN, all the malarkey, Netflix and everything like that. So if we're opening up to a wider audience, we need to ensure the word cinema is being lived up to. We watch movies, TV shows, even parts of gaming lore as well, for character depth, reasoning, and I would argue the villains
Temper.
are the most interesting because of their character arc and their reasoning, especially when they're conflicted. They're conflicted with the good and evil. The 09 Randy Orton was decisively heel. He was just a bad dude. And for the most part, from like 2002 up until his 09 run, he was a heel. For the majority of time. I know he had a couple of short stints there as baby faces, but he didn't build up too much equity with the crowd in terms of a positive relationship. It was typically boos. But now fast forward in 2026, it's a whole different ball game for Randy Orton. I would have been super disappointed if we had a one-dimensional heel run here. But the WWE and Randy Orton especially did a tremendous job in showing a conflicted superstar, almost a desperate superstar in Randy Orton, where he knows he needs to tap into some of his past that he's overcome for him to become the top dog once again. And this branches into his interaction with Jelly Roll, who he teamed up with not too long ago. That's like babyface galore stuff. His relationship with Matt Cardona in the past. Now that then put Randy Orton in a conflicted state. And not only does all of this create unpredictability, it more importantly creates a compelling character. Because I'm not sure about you guys, but honestly, I would switch off. If I see another heel turn just happen and it's all of a sudden like, screw the crowd, screw my previous relationships. We've seen that, we've done that. It is a methodology from the 80s, probably since the 70s or before that as well. It's outdated, guys. We need substance. If we're on the big platforms like Netflix and everything like that, we need to be drawn in. We want to escape from reality for just a moment or so and suspend our belief in what we're watching. The same way we do with movies, TV shows. So I have to say, hats up. Round of applause for the WWE and especially Randy Orton, who honestly is so freaking believable in everything he does. And he tells this story where you're thinking, is he thinking left? Is he thinking right? And as maniacal, as sinister as Randy Orton currently is, as we know he can be, there is still a bit of sympathy somewhere in there where we can sort of reach out as the fans that have been cheering him for the last 4 to 5 years. Say, hey, look, we're still with you. You're still the legend to us. And this was vicariously done through Jelly Roll. That conversation he had with Randy Orton backstage was exactly from the fans' perspective, leading Randy Orton to be convinced, saying, listen to the angel on your shoulder, not the devil on your left shoulder, whoever that person is on the phone, and go to Cardona and apologize. Which led to the closing of SmackDown, where Randy first apologizes and then just annihilates Matt Cardona. So awesome, in-depth stuff, layers, substance, and I cannot wait for WrestleMania 42 with Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. But that's everything from my end, guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.